UN Secretary General has revealed he was pressured to drop the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen from his official blacklist of child killers, just days after it was published.
This was one of the most painful and difficult decisions I have had to make. I also had to consider the very real prospect that millions of other children would suffer grievously. It is unacceptable for member states to exert undue pressure.
The Saudi-led coalition in Yemen was blacklisted along with groups like ISIL, Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda. The UN report claims the coalition is to blame for 60% of child casualties in Yemen since its incursion began in March 2015. But now, days after the report was made public, the UN has now dropped it from its blacklist.
Behind the scenes, UN officials spoke more bluntly about the kind of pressure Gulf states put on the UN to get the Saudi-led coalition off the hook for killing children in Yemen. UN diplomats who spoke with Reuters on condition of anonymity said it was, quote-unquote, real blackmail involving bullying, threats, and pressure. The sources said Saudi Arabia and its allies have threatened to cut funds to various UN programs, and this has prompted the UN chief to do what he did, which was to reverse the damning report of the killing of children in the attacks by the Saudi-led coalition. Ban Ki-moon called it one of the most painful and difficult decisions he ever made. Saudi Arabia, however, said it did not use threats to get itself off of the blacklist.
That's ridiculous. That's outrageous. We don't use threats or intimidation. Riyadh was very committed to the United Nations.
UN officials say the opposite is true. This is not the first time we hear about Saudi Arabia applying pressure to get what it wants. Most recently, Saudi Arabia threatened to sell off more than $700 billion worth of its U.S. assets in response to a move by the U.S. Congress to pass a bill that would allow 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia. President Obama said he would not sign the bill into law. And this leaves many with the question, are we seeing a certain pattern of behavior here?
And we spoke to Catherine Shakdam from the Shafakna Institute of Middle Eastern Studies, who believes Saudi Arabia's move is nothing but financial blackmail.
Saudi Foreign Minister warned that Saudi Arabia would cut all ties with the UN and would call on all friendly Arab countries to actually follow suit and do the same. And added to that, they said that they would as well remove all funding that they promised to UN agencies. Bearing in mind that the Saudi Arabia is single-handedly, I would say, finance a lot of UN agency in different countries in Africa and the Middle East. The UN is standing to lose millions and millions in funding. And this is something that they're not willing to do. So you have, once again, this is not the first time that the Saudi are actually doing this. They've done the same tactics of, some form of economic warfare, against Washington, for example, over the 9/11 law. And again, they're doing the same very thing because, Saudi Arabia does not have a military and they do not have a very powerful political lobby just yet, although it's growing. So they're using what they can, which is financial blackmail, and it's working.